each of the following. What is SS? And if you recall, SS is the sum of the squared deviation scores. And the next is variance. What is variance? Do you recall what variance is? Well, let's take a look. Variance is the mean squared deviation. All right, and we'll figure out a couple of those problems again in the lecture this week. We'll actually do a review. And the last one that I'm asking is, what is standard deviation? And standard deviation is the square root of the variance. It provides a measure of the standard distance from the mean. All right, and if you recall the standard deviation, I just want to remind you that in a curve, all right, well, if we drew a curve, and I can't draw there because we're not in, we don't have a pen mode, but all right, I correct myself. I do have a pen in here, and so we want to do the standard deviation. So we have a curve, and this is a relatively normal curve. It's not extremely leptokurtic. It's not extremely platykurtic. And where's the mean? Do you remember? The mean is going to be right down the middle. Oh boy, that's a lousy mean. Sorry. And that's the mean. And so a standard deviation is going to be a particular distance from the mean. All right. So in this particular instance, this would be so many standard deviations. Okay, and this would I'll make this be 1. As a matter of fact, in we are going to actually cover something called z-scores. This week, in week 4, that is. So you'll actually be able to learn more about the distance from the mean. And don't forget, you could have a positive distance, or a negative distance from the mean. Okay, let's pop over to the next question. Question 4 asks, can the sum of squares ever have a value less than 0? Explain your answer. Well, the sum of squares can't be less than 0 because it is computed by adding squared deviations. So if you recall, squared deviations are always greater than or equal to 0, because when we square something, what do? We get rid of the negative sign, and they're all positive numbers. And that pretty much explains that. So let's head right over to question 8. So question 8 asks us, explain what it means to say that the sample variance provides an unbiased estimate of the population variance. And if we recall, an unbiased estimate means that on average the sample will provide an accurate representation of the population. Specifically, if you take all the possible samples and compute the variance for them, then the average of all the sample variances will be exactly equal to the population variance. I hope that makes sense. And we are trying not to have a biased estimate. And we'll pop over to question 10. So question 10 asks, for the data in the following sample, and these are the data, 8, 1, 5, 1, and 5. And I'm, if you haven't noticed, I've switched from Excel and I'm now in SPSS. And you know how to follow the 6 simple steps of the recipe that I gave you to determine what standard deviation is. So I know that you will do that to figure out what the mean is and what the standard deviation is. We'll just run through it in here. But for the following samples, it's asking, part A of this question is find the mean and the standard deviation. So let's go ahead and analyze and do descriptive statistics and frequencies. And we're going to use test data again. And we're going to ask for standard deviation and the mean. And we're going to continue on and say OK. And don't forget, I'm not even going to display the frequency tables. Just the so now we're actually taking a look at what the mean is, and stand by just a moment. Alright, sorry about that. See these little dots? They are where I erased the numbers that we were working with in the Chapter 3 simulation that I did. So they are giving me a little problem. So rather than restart the program, I'm just going to go down here and make another variable, and I'm going to call this std_var experiment. Alright, and again, I'm going to make it a numeric, just accept the defaults, and we'll pop over to data view, and we're just going to take these first group and copy them right over. I don't know if this is going to work actually, and put them under here. And now we're going to go to Analyze, and we're going to go to Descriptive Statistics and Frequency again, and instead of using test data, I'm going to use the Standard Variation Experiment data. And so I just move that one out and one in, and the statistics will be where we left them. Alright, standard deviation and the mean, and let's see what we get now. And we again got an incorrect answer, so I'm going to have to restart this program so that we can get a right answer. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back, and what you just witnessed is a bug in version 16 of SPSS. That's why you're not using 16. Okay, so let's again take the we just named it variable 1 this time, and we have the values that they gave us in the question in the textbook, and we will just go ahead and analyze descriptive statistics and frequencies and move variable 1 in, and that will bring all the x values in. And I'll pick the statistics again. We want the mean and the standard deviation. We'll continue and say OK, we don't need the frequency tables, and I'll just bring this in, and our mean is 4 and our standard deviation is 3, and I'm not going to erase that this time. And it says, okay, now what I'd like you to do is change this value to 18 and see what the difference is. So let's go ahead and run that with that new number in there. So we'll go frequencies again, same statistics. We're still running the mean and we're running the standard deviation, and we're just going to say go ahead, and you could see here that the mean now is 6 and the standard deviation is 7. And so changing one score changes both the mean and the standard deviation. All right, that is just something for you to remember, because the mean, as the mean changes, the standard deviation changes because it is a distance from the mean. Okay, we'll pop over to the next question. All right. Well, the next one that we will be working on is question 10. And question 10 asks, on an exam with a mean of 75, you obtain a score of 80. And it's asking, would you prefer that the exam distribution had a standard deviation of 2 or 10? So let's sketch the distribution. I'm taking my pen out, and I'm just going over to pens, and I'm grabbing, let's just grab this nice red one, and I'm going to draw a curve. All right, and it's asking us if we would prefer a standard deviation of 2 or 10. So the mean, again, is mean equals 75, and we got here's 75 on the x-axis, 80, 90, 95 would be about here, 85 would be about here. So the standard deviation in this one would we prefer a 2 or a 10 or 10? Well, of course we would prefer that the standard deviation, if the standard deviation, one standard deviation adding on to the mean would give us a 77. So if we got an 80, we would be well above one standard deviation. If we got a standard deviation of 10, it would be over here at 85, and it wouldn't be quite as good. So in this one we would be actually out farther above the curve than we would with a standard deviation of 10. And in the other part of the question, in B, it's the same way. We would want to, and that asks if your score is 70, would you prefer a 2 or a 10? And of course, with that one, if you're located 5 points below the mean, then the situation is reversed. So if we got a 70, we would want the standard deviation to be 10 because we would want to be closer to the mean. We wouldn't want to be way over here out under the leg of the curve. Okay? And that is simply put that. For the last question, which is 28 in this particular chapter, chapter 4, we are going to actually use SPSS. So we're going to go over into SPSS and make a couple of variables. Let's just get rid of this, and we're going to go into data variable view, and we're going to clear the variable 01, and we're going to make two variables named males and another called females. And we're going to be doing some, and we're going to get rid of this one. And you can see that we're having some issues here, so let me just clear that. Just clear all three. Delete. 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 What a mess it made. Alright, let's try data view again, and we'll try variable, go into variable view and make one called males and another called females. Just accept all the defaults. Hope I'm not going above 15 minutes. And let's go into data view, and it's totally messed up. So we're going to have to do a reboot on the this one. So what I'll do is I will stop this, and we'll continue question 28 in the next video.